harder than the politicians' one. Because every time I hear these jokes, and that's a very funny one. I mean, it's good. But it's like, then I sit and I think to myself, there are these two people who are dead. And this is like a really rather serious business.
Yes, it is. But
but
let me tell you something. That is absolutely true. But we know from being comedians, if you took away every bit of subject matter that was tragic, you would have nothing to joke about.
Right.
And people need the release.
Of
almost
jokes.
the most tragic situations, they have to have some sort of release. I think part of the problem with the man you were with, running for president,
I've been with a lot.
Michael Dukakis. No, Michael Dukakis, a lot of them liked his policies and stuff, but he was humorless.
Yeah.
I mean, he had no sense of humanity. Remember at the debate, they asked him, they said, what would you do if your wife was brutally raped? And he said, I'd form a committee. I'd study the situation.
And I'm against the death penalty. No, but it's true. It really is true. He isn't really a humorless man. I feel like I need to. You know him, LeVar. He's a nice man, but publicly he came across that way.
I do, yeah.
Why?
I passed that one off.
You know, if he had run for president with that thing around his head, he could have done a lot better.
Did you wear that? Was that from Star Trek or was that in Roots?
That's from a Pep Boys. It's a brand oil filter.
That's what it is. It's an air filter, isn't it?
There we go. And it needs a change, I think.
It's sparks and plugs, isn't it? Yeah.
Thank you very much.
First check on 3.
How do you know Michael Dukakis?
His son and I are good friends.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
And your impression of him? No, do the impression.
Put on your helmet,
Get on your knees. No, I think Michael is a very intelligent man who just didn't know how to go for the jugular. His problem is that he wimped out, and that's why he lost the election. He would not sink to the sort of politics that Bush was playing.
Susan?
You know, I worked for every Democrat who lost in the 80s, in 80, 84, 88.
You worked for Carter?
Yeah.
Mondale?
Kennedy.
And Dukakis?
Ferraro.
Wow.
Were there any others, right?
Talk about a string of losers.
You know what's good about what?
How do you get up in the morning?
Word association.
Well, you know, the good thing about it is I didn't do anything in 1994 and they lost without me. So it couldn't be me. I think politics is one of the most disgusting games going right now. I mean, it really is kind of awful what you do to people. And, I don't mind the jokes people tell, but what politicians do to each other is, sort of a national disgrace. I agree with LeVar. I mean, Michael Dukakis just didn't know how to get in the gutter and toss mud with both hands.
That's right.
And you can't succeed in politics today
unless you're willing to do that.
And the worst of it is, if you're not some kind of weirdo, you can't survive in politics anyway because there'll be.
But I mean, I can understand how someone might say, well, if you can't get in the gutter and fight with George Bush, how are you going to do it with Saddam Hussein? Right. I mean, if you're not man enough, and you know what I mean by that. Chicken on the lip, my friend.
Yeah. Right, the chicken on the lip, yeah.
Chicken on the lip kind of man.
Right.
I mean, isn't that a valid point to be made, that we don't really want or shouldn't have a gentleman president?
Well, I think
that we shouldn't.
We shouldn't. We need a.
I want a woman president, and I don't have a joke about this. I think we should have a woman president.
But
I don't think there's anything funny about a woman president. I think we should have a woman president.
But I'd vote for one too. Susan Ryan.
Well,
I mean, I kind of like the president we have.
Good, he's great.
I like men presidents too.
Yeah,
he laughed at my material.
The joke you did about the spoon and fork was so. Oh, that was Clinton's. I'm sorry.
That's right. He went up before me, and he was very funny.
He was very funny.
He was a little too funny.
How was that for you?
It was difficult. I said to him, don't be too funny, because I got to follow you. You're my opening act.
And he was.
Yeah, because the Bloodworth Thomasons wrote his material, and we know how funny Designing Women is.
I think you and I have proven that comedians are angry, deeply angry, bitter people.
Bitter and neurotic, right? No? A little?
A little neurotic.
A little neurotic, yes.
Well,
It's frustrating to me that Bill Clinton is, Bill Clinton's my generation. Bill Clinton is the first president of, it's hard for me to think that this is the best my generation has to offer. Of my generation, I mean, I guess Arlo Guthrie was tied up. At least he...
You're not available.
At least Arlo would have inhaled. I don't want to go back to that, Bill, because you know that's dated, but, you know.
I disagree, because we started this show talking about being in touch or out of touch. I mean, Bush did not know what a supermarket scanner was.
Right.
I mean, Clinton screws around, at least he gets out. Anyway, I think it's timely that we've run out of conversation just as we've run out of time.
I got a little tired.
We have to wrap up. I have to thank my guests for a memorable show. Thank you so much. Brian, Kato, Kaelin, LeVar Burton, Susan Estridge, and Mr. Garry Shandling. See you tomorrow night with Jay Leno, Daryl Gates, George Clooney, and Gabrielle Carteris. Thank you, folks.